Good morning. Welcome to the Windsor Star News Cafe. I'm Don McArthur here with Dylan Kristy and our special guest, mayoral candidate John Millson.
Good morning.
Excellent. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's start again. You had an announcement yesterday where you were outside of Windsor Water World talking about transparency, more public consultation on these big city projects. Can you just kind of run us through that?
Sure. That's been one of my major concerns, has been just the openness and transparency of City Hall. There were decisions that were attempting to be made on that particular property, which without any real consultation with the neighbors. And then there's been so many more that have affected communities and neighborhoods. I pledged that we would have an open door policy, that we would consult with neighbors, good consultancy, but nothing that's going to delay projects, but just good planning. And neighborhoods are so important in our community.
Yeah, well, that's funny. I went back. I'm here. I look young, but I've been here a few years. I remember I covered a consultation at Windsor Water World in 2011, and it was for the Aquatic Center. But having said that, the overwhelming attitude and opinion of people there was that they love Windsor Water World. They want to keep it open. So it looks like there were kind of some consultations that were there, but did the city listen to it? I don't know. But I remember having covered one of those events.
Right.
And
yeah. Well, once again, it was, as you may recall, it was the 11th hour before the deadline of Lame Duck City Council that there was a report that wanted to get passed, before 2 o'clock on that Thursday, I think it was, and it's that kind of issue that really bothers me. There's an $8 million parking garage issue that's coming up.
You said that doesn't pass the smell test, right? Why? Because they rushed it across the goal line?
Well, here we are heading into an election. It's questionable whether they have the authority to do it, but here's the thing. It's an $8 million parking garage. It's to replace 60 parking spots. Now, I know Mr. Dilkin said yesterday I didn't know what I was talking about. It was only $7.2 million. Well, he's wrong. I've got the council report right here. It's $8 million.
See it right here.
I do. Yeah, $8 million. Now, it goes back to bells and whistles again. When you take a look at this, they're only replacing 60 parking spots. I know the garage says that it's going to be 380 parking spots, I believe, but for what? Once again, it's bells and whistles. If you're removing 60 parking spaces, then let's just replace it. And we can replace those same 60 parking spots, the report says, for $460,000. So once again, bells and whistles, $460,000 or $8 million. And why does it have to get rammed through, just at their last council meeting before it's disbanded? Let's let the new city council decide where we're going with projects like that.
Okay, and just put this one on a tee for you, because I got a bee in my bonnet about this one, the flooding data.
Yeah.
The Star, Claire Bunnell, we asked for the flooding data. Oh no, we can't give it to you. The city says, fine, then we appeal it, spend a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
Who knows how much the city spent, like staving us off. Finally, the privacy commissioner says, yes, release this data. Are you crazy? And you're saying, release flooding data. It's a vital, vital issue.
And I get attacked for it, but all I'm saying is it's just openness. It's just not right. Why should taxpayers have to fight for information? And then that raises the concern is, well, what's the report saying? And then for City Hall to say, and we're not going to release it till after the election. It's just wrong. So once again, reports, meetings, transparency, all the way for me.
Okay. This race took, speaking of transparency, it kind of took a bit of a turn towards the gutter yesterday. Eddie Francis is reading private emails that you sent to him to reporters. What do you think about that?
Well, I was surprised. It wasn't anything that I would do. Because once again, Eddie's not running. We're not voting for Eddie. His worship is the mayor. It's Drew that's running. Let Drew stand on his own 2 feet by his own merit. But having said that, once again, openness and transparency. I wouldn't have done this, but we released.
Just hold on. So there's an email where you lay it on pretty thick to Eddie, say you really love everything they've done, and Drew threw that in your face yesterday, saying, how can you criticize the administration when you write an email so glowing? So Eddie reads that to a reporter, and then last night your campaign response, you released the whole email exchange.
Exactly. Openness and transparency. And in there, the mayor says, Mayor, this is from his worship, Mayor Eddie Francis. Mayor, I have to I have come to appreciate the demands and pressures of the office, and as a result, I have developed a greater respect for those that held office prior to me, and I will continue to respect that mayors govern under different circumstances at different times, and I would never take away from their successes. So,
Okay, but then he takes a shot
Yeah,
at you
well
at the
then
end too, right? Like,
takes a turn at the end
Yeah,
there.
takes a turn at the end. He says
Yeah.
all this, and then he says, "But wait a minute, John. I want to hold you to account because you're out there telling people that all of Eddie's successes were because of the hard work that you've done," and he sort of takes issue with that.
well, he does, but you know what I said is Windsor is a work in progress, and he shot the cannonball across the bow, but it was all because of the waterfront. Because I said, you know, our city council, back when I was there, we took the waterfront from CNCP. We negotiated in good faith, and once again, this goes to the way I negotiate things. We wanted the waterfront. It's a jewel of our community, right? So we swapped an old dead building up in Ottawa that the federal government gave to us. We gave them, I think, $5 million. This is to CNCP. And then we gave them about 1,000 acres of property out on the east end, which I always called swamp land, because in the early, in the late 70s, that was always flooded. And then two wonderful entrepreneurs, Mr. Finelli and Jenny Coco and Coco Group, decided that they would buy that from CNCP, and they built over 800 houses out there, which generates, I think, around $5 or $6 million a year in property taxes. So here we got the whole waterfront jewel, right? And built all of this. Eddie thought that I was taking a shot at him. It wasn't. It was just in my city council. That was one of the things that we did, and it's a long-term process. Mike Hurst when he was the mayor, he proceeded with some of the development, and Eddie certainly has carried on with it. And if I'm fortunate enough to be elected as mayor, I will carry on with the development of the waterfront again. So that's just the way it is. But once again, it's openness and transparency with me.
All right, well, you've been ducking some blows from Dilkins, and now Francis, now Graston, our own editorial cartoonist, he's been coming up with some pretty good cartoons. We have one behind us right now. It's you and Dilkins embracing.
The hugs are off now. The hugs are off, yeah.
The hugs are off. I had the great fortune of meeting Mike 3 weeks ago, and I told him at that point what a talent he has, because I've seen his caricatures in the past, that there's been a world event, a tragedy, and he can sum up everybody's thoughts without any words with a single picture. So anyway, I love these cartoons.
Okay, we're going to get to the next one in a sec, but just on that, like his Sandy Hook cartoon, he did a cartoon on Sandy Hook.
Oh,
it tears your heart out. We have it hanging in the newsroom.
Yeah.
It went around the world. It's probably the most popular post that's ever been on WindsorStar.com.
Yeah,
it's an amazing cartoon.
It is, and it's an amazing talent that he has, and he's been a resource of the Windsor Star for many, many years. So
yeah, no, we're lucky to have him.
We are lucky to have him. Yeah. And here we go. You got endorsed by Labour, and here's what Mike thinks about that. He thinks you're going to be beholden to Labour when you get in.
Well, you know what?
If you get in.
My whole platform, again, has just been openness, transparency. So when we talk about the labor movement, and I was very humbled and gratified that they came out and endorsed me. And once again, as a team, we all have to work together, right? The labor movement, Windsor District Labor Council is so important in this community, as is Chamber of Commerce, business and small business leaders, and I embrace them all. I encourage them to come forward and help us in this campaign. And as I've done in the past, and I continue to do, is just come on in, let me know how I can help you.
Excellent. Well, he's also been really on point with the college. Now, of course, you've gone in, you've talked to Dr. Strasser, other candidates have it. What was your reaction to kind of that blowback and how big that story's gotten? Are you?
Well, John has been a close friend of mine for a long time. St. Clair College has been a great force for me personally. Okay, I've taken classes there. I was on the foundation board. I raised the money for the manufacturing center. I mean, I've had a close relationship with St. Clair College. In fact, as mayor, we had a plastics convention, plastic mold makers convention coming to the city of Windsor. So St. Clair College had a plastic mold makers night course. So I took it for 3 months. I don't think I passed it, but I learned enough to know about the little dimples on the bottom of a water bottle and what that means and how the plastic, so that when we had the convention here, and we had, I think, around 500 people from around the world came to the convention, I at least had a little bit of knowledge. So St. Clair College has been a great resource, and John has been a good friend. I feel bad that he seems to be caught in the middle there. Certainly it was not my intention, but he's a great fellow, great gentleman.
Okay, one of Dilkin's things, Francis's things, of course, is we haven't raised taxes, we haven't raised taxes. He always has this in his pocket. He pulls it out. They went up, he says, 13.1% in your 3-year tenure. How do you respond to that?
Well, you know, in those days it was a different time. Mortgages were 12%, inflation was 5.6%, I think. So it was a different time. However, having said that, you know, I've gone through my tax bills, right? And my property taxes have gone up 16%. Citizens of Windsor, their property taxes have gone up 16%. What's that saying? If you say it enough time, people will believe it. But that 0%, there's been no tax increase, is just wrong. It's false. And over the 8 years, it's gone up over 16%.
Well, it does depend upon how you crunch the numbers, right? Because
no,
but I mean, because if your property assessment, I'm on your side here.
Yeah, I know.
No, because if your property assessment goes down,
yeah,
right? You know what I mean? Like, then of course your taxes might stay the same because your mill rate goes up, but it's
and I wasn't referring to that from impact. You just take a look at the straight rate that you're charged on your statement. It's gone up 16% in 8 years.
Well, exactly, but they can say it stays the same because like a bunch of people's, their 100,000 homes now we're 75, so you actually in effect. But on taxes too, a lot of people say hidden taxes, NWIN, WUC, this and that. You claim one of your promises is you're going to end appointments, money for appointments, people sitting on WUC and NWIN. That's a pretty juicy chestnut for these guys. Like if you actually do that, it's a $10,000 pay cut approximately for city councilors. So do you actually have the power to do that as mayor? Can you go in and say, we're not going to pay you guys for sitting on boards anymore?
No, it takes everybody vote. I can tell you what I'm personally going to do. That's all that I can do. I'm not going to double dip. I'm not going to double dip the citizens of Windsor. And so any boards that I would be on and receiving pay for, I won't accept it. We'll turn it back and I'll
But how do you turn it back?
over.
You give it to NWIN or do you give it to charity? Like, what do you do when the check comes in the mail?
I don't get it.
Okay.
Okay. I would make a motion that that the mayor's office not receive that stipend.
Okay, but then what about the other councillors, like who might obviously want to?
Certainly, I'm going to be putting a motion forward, and hopefully all the other members of City Council will pass that as well, that they would not double dip. I think it's important. I think the citizens of Windsor, because here, look, let's take a look at the minutes of Windsor Utilities Commission.
If they release them.
Well, if you can go on there and you can find the minutes. The meetings are like 35 to 40 minutes. They get $450 for that, right?
Yeah.
Then they adjourn the meeting, and then they immediately open the next meeting. And it runs for 30 to 35 minutes. So now they've got an hour, and they've collected $900, and a lot of them haven't even been sitting in that room. They've done it by phone. That's wrong. I'm sorry, that's just wrong. Openness and transparency, again, has to be in the forefront here. I'm not going to double dip the citizens of Windsor. I'm not going to accept that money, and I cannot accept that money. I don't care what the mechanics of it are. I'm just not going to take it, period. Done. No double dipping. It's got the greatest impact on the mayor's seat as far as financial goes.
There's a lot of
huge,
rent. Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
right? Huge.
Yes.
I'm not going to take it. Citizens of Windsor, the situation we're in the city of Windsor right now, it's not right for any double dipping. I'm sorry, it's just not right. In my heart, I can't. Did you see the newspaper article this morning?
Don,
No,
stop trying to get him to take it.
The article this morning. I mean,
Yeah.
it was. We're the highest poverty in all of Canada. I'm still verklempt on that. That there's going to be 4,000 kids in the city of Windsor that are never, ever in their entire life going to get out of poverty. That's not right. And this is what my other candidate is wanting to continue on with the success. How can you have success when we get the highest sewer surcharge in all of Ontario? You got the second highest unemployment in all of Canada. We're now the #1 poverty community in the city of Windsor, and you want me to take extra pay for that? It's bull. Sorry. I'm not supposed to say that.
Wow, you heard it here first, boy. Wind him up and let him go. Very clear you're not going to take that. We're running on here. We're really enjoying this. It's been about 15 minutes. So
yeah. I'm sorry.
Will you come back?
Please come back. You're welcome anytime. Is there any just final words you want to say to the people of Windsor? Mike's yours.
The city of Windsor is just the best place in the world to live, and I love it. Been here, raised here, worked here, still create jobs here, and I'm excited to get Windsor back on track again.
Excellent, man.
Okay, just want to say he showed up 10 minutes early for his interview, and he helped us move chairs to set up the set. John Millson running for mayor. This has been Trail Talk in the Windsor Star News Cafe.